So let's not waste any more time, guys. Let's get right into it. As the major news of the day is that the Cleveland Browns traded Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams. You got two San Francisco 49ers fans sitting here. And so we obviously aren't happy. I think I can speak for Kevin. And even in Oregon right now, that Eagles fan is not happy at all because you got to get through the Rams to get to the bowl. And so ultimately, this isn't a good day for Stats Over Politics as Myles Garrett ends up getting traded to the Rams from the Browns. An era comes to an end. And so before we get Kevin's reaction to it, I just wanted to briefly mention the compensation, because if you play Madden and you tried to make this trade on Madden, Madden even said, that's not enough. I don't think we can make the deal. But apparently for the Cleveland Browns, they felt like it was enough, as Myles Garrett was traded to the Rams for Jared Verse, who was the defensive rookie of the year. So no slight to him. A 2027 first round pick, a 2028 second round pick, and a 2029 third round pick. Ultimately, that's the package that Myles Garrett is traded for, which is hard for me to believe. Kevin, what was your reaction to this news?
A lot of people are dogging this package. And I think the Cleveland Browns are banking on Jared Verse being really, really good, because he's the equivalent of a first-round pick. Like Shaun mentioned, defensive rookie of the year. He's had a huge impact on this defense. So he was one of those picks that they did not say fuck those picks. They wanted to use that pick and draft a guy and just to pour into Jared Verse. In his first year, they went to an NFC Championship. And then his first 2 years, they were a game away from the Super Bowl. So it's really hard to say he didn't have an impact on that defense. But then on the other side of the coin, no one's Myles Garrett. So unless you're trading the whole kitchen sink, everyone's going to think it's not fair because it's Myles Garrett, the guy who just signed the highest defensive pay. He was just the highest paid player in the NFL. Then he broke the sack record, and then he's traded not even a full year later. 125.5 sacks in his career as the franchise leader, 23 multi-sack games, franchise leader, all-time NFL single-season sack leader, like I mentioned. Second most sacks in first 9 games of his career since 1982. 5-time All-Pro and 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. We've seen this before when the Rams look up and they say, fuck them picks. I was talking to Toddy about it, and it makes a lot more sense why they decided to pass on a Sadiq, Mekhi Lemon. They could have went any route, even another defender. But in the back of their mind, they were like, it makes sense for us to get a Matthew Stafford replacement and not have a pick next or 2 years from now. Then lose that second and that third round pick, which is going to be a huge quarterback draft next year. They decided to jump ahead of it. The Rams fans that I've talked to said, Kevin, that's going to be pick 32. So it doesn't matter. I don't think it's going to be pick 32. Maybe 29, but, that's neither here nor there. So Myles Garrett is going to the Rams. I know the Niner fans that I know, the Seahawk fans that I know are not feeling great. But like Toddy said, we got Trent Williams for 2 more years. So we're going to be all right. It's going to be fun. And, of course, he comes the year we have to play that division. So it's going to be fun to see him again. And like Shaun mentioned, the fan in Portland, the Eagles fan, is not worried because Jalen Hurts has never lost to the Rams. Brock Purdy can't say that.
Well, Brock Purdy does play the Rams twice a year, and so there's double the opportunity. And I'm really glad that you mentioned just the timeline with the draft and everything, and how people were up in arms with the Rams taking Ty Simpson 13 when he was projected to go in the 20s, because the nature of this deal coming together today on the first day of the league year, and the fact that there was no leaks and this didn't come out at all. Like, we knew A.J. Brown was going to be a Patriot. We heard nothing about this. And so that made me think that this deal has been in the talks for weeks and months. And the Rams thought about this deal when they were making their draft execution, as you alluded to, Kevin. And so, Toddy, I know that I'm physically sick when it comes to this deal. Just what was your reaction? Where were you? And just how did you feel when you saw it pop across your phone? Because I was working at In-N-Out today, and I got on my 10-minute break, pulled my phone out the locker, and I just saw it mesh together with my notifications, and it just didn't seem true. So what was your reaction to this news?
He thought it was AI. A lot of these things I'll just go back to the Luka Doncic trade. When
Oh,
that happened.
man.
A lot of people didn't think that was real. People like Shaun had to come out and say this is not fake news. This is real. I was waiting on the same Adam Schefter. Like maybe he messed up. He had a graphic ready. Like, oh, man, my bad. Account got hacked. This, that, and the third. No, it was pretty much real. You have guys like Kevin in our group chat who's basically like Adam Schefter.
Yeah, right.
Breaks all the news, lets everyone know.
Yeah, but Cordell is giving him a run for his money lately.
Yeah, Cordell is like
Cousin
Ian
Cordell.
Rappaport. He's like Ian Rappaport, and Kev is Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
So shout out to Cousin Cordell.
Yep.
I think just kind of taking it all in. All this just to beat Brock Purdy, man. Like, just why you got to go and get guys like Myles Garrett. They went to an NFC Championship game. They're like, you know what? Not good enough. In all seriousness, when Kevin was explaining the Ty Simpson pick, I didn't really understand it at first, but then I started to realize, hey, the Rams never pick in this. They never pick this high.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they haven't picked this high since basically Jared Goff, when they had the number 1 overall pick before Sean McVay was there. So you have a position, and you could have gotten a guy like a Mekhi Lemon, or they could have gotten corner help because that was one of their needs, but they obviously get it. They got Trent McDuffie in the offseason, so maybe they wanted to add a little bit of corner depth, something else to maybe help the team better. But to get a quarterback in that sense was kind of a head scratcher, and a lot of analysts out there, pretty much all over the league. And I think it's kind of in hindsight 2020, like, oh, well, we're going to get Myles Garrett. I think when Matthew Stafford signed his extension, he probably had some type of knowledge like this was in the works. I did hear from Adam or Tom Pelissero.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking on Rich Eisen's show, and he said that the Browns and the Rams were in contact basically a little bit after the draft. So this was going on for a couple of weeks now, almost months, and trying to get the right compensation. And you did see that teams like the Eagles, teams like the Rams, like there were other teams that were inquiring about Myles Garrett, obviously coming off of breaking the sack record, being Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to get a lot of inquiries. As far as this team for the Rams, I mean, are they the favorites?
Oh, they have to be. They have to be.
I did see that their odds jump from plus 800 to plus 650. I don't know if that makes them the odds leader, making them the favorite.
I would think so.
But I kind of think this would put up. This is kind of like Katie to the Warriors in a sense. I mean, they didn't win the championship before, and Myles Garrett didn't. Everything might not be hand in hand, but you're adding an all-time player to this team that literally just went to the NFC Championship game, and so you're looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, the NFC is constantly it's an arms race, especially the NFC West, because the Seattle Seahawks just won the Super Bowl, and the Niners obviously made a playoff run. The Rams were in the NFC Championship game. Like, this division is never going to sleep.
Yeah.
So I do think the Rams have a track record of trading for star players and using those picks. Jalen Ramsey, obviously Matthew Stafford, and now Myles Garrett. So they have a track record of, obviously they made a t-shirt about it. Fuck their picks.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, I wouldn't say they don't care about their picks, but they value players more than the actual value of what a first-round pick is. And it's a form that does work, but I do think it does. You need the right organization, you need the right coaching staff, you need the right GM in place to have some sort of competency. Because we see teams that are always picking in the top 10, and they're rotating GMs and rotating coaches year in and year out. So there's a lot of stability within this Rams organization. So they might know a thing or two of what they're doing. Go ahead, Shaun.
No, I was just going to add on that Les Snead, to your point, he's all about the established guy. He's not about hoping and praying that someone will become Myles Garrett when you could just get Myles Garrett.
You just go get him. Like, he's right down the road. Let's give him a first. Let's give him a fifth. Let's give him Jared Verse. And let's not put smile on Jared Verse's name. I think Jared Verse is just a young player who has the potential to be one and all pro type of. He's already a Pro Bowler, two-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like they traded him for scraps.
Mm-hmm.
He is a very promising young player, and that was one of the things with the Rams. They were trying to convert their roster to being a little bit younger. They have a lot of older, more seasoned players. But I mean, if you have an opportunity to get Myles Garrett, I mean, any and everybody's going to take that call, but you're going to have to give something up to get something. I mean, you traded a 2-time Pro Bowler, but to get Myles Garrett, you threw a first-round pick in there, and albeit it's probably going to be a top 29, 30. So basically, it's like a second-round pick almost. So I mean, hats off to Les Snead. I mean, I never saw this coming. And then to put a cherry on top, the Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So it's just like, this is our division, guys. So
in your arena.
I mean, it is what it is. We're just and I thought that the Niners had a pretty solid offseason. But when you have something like this happen, it's just like, you can't really do anything about it. So it's just, hey, man, the Rams just got better. I saw that the line for the Week 1 game in Australia, the Rams were favored by 2.5. It jumped up a full point to 3.5. We'll see when the game gets a little bit closer what it closes at. But Myles Garrett is worth a full point apparently to Vegas. So
yeah, that sounds about right. And this entire time I've been trying to like search for the Micah Parsons trade, and it took me too long, so it doesn't matter at this point. But this trade really reminds me of the Micah Parsons trade, just in the sense that the Packers got a player back, and I was trying to search it just so I could remember the name of the player that they traded Micah Parsons for, and I can't even remember his name. I think it was like Clark or something like that. But it just shows how he was traded for Micah Parsons along with picks, but he's not Micah Parsons. And Jared Verse is a much better player in my opinion, but still, it's Myles Garrett at the end of the day, and the Rams are in a win now situation. And there's a couple things that I wanted to highlight, and you guys alluded to some of this already.
There's one thing I did want to add.
Yeah.
The Browns, I think it was back in like March. It was something like about like a roster bonus or something that was
reconstruction his deal.
Something about his contract that the Browns didn't pay. And a lot of people were saying like, oh, could this mean that he's going to get traded? This, then the third, he had already requested a trade back before last year's Super Bowl, and then he gets paid immediately. And then that little something in his contract, it didn't get paid, so it kind of just left a lot of people with the windy fingers.
Yeah, right.
Like, why would they do that?
Yeah, exactly.
So now I think it kind of comes full circle to the Rams and Les Snead are going to end up picking up that bill. So I mean, it's just everything's kind of coming full circle now to just Myles Garrett is an LA Ram. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Right.
The trade was Micah Parsons for Kenny Clark, two first-round picks.
Kenny
Clark. There we go.
But there's also a 6-year age gap. So if Myles Garrett was also younger, I think he'd get the similar package.
Yeah, true. And I wanted to highlight a quick comment on YouTube since Toddy and I are together. I didn't get a chance to prep this, but Apollo Jeff says on Instagram, Aldon Smith better than Myles Garrett. I'll leave that up to the audience to debate.
Good pull with Aldon Smith, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, what Aldon
could have been a better pull.
Yeah.
Just what he could have been if he just stayed focused. But something that you guys already alluded to, and Field Yates of ESPN pointed this out, so I wanted to give him credit before reading his tweet. He says, the Rams' first-round pick since 2016. In 2016, they drafted Jared Goff, who was eventually traded in the Matthew Stafford deal. Then they did not have a first-round pick from 2017 to 2023. And then in 2024, they took Jared Verse, who was eventually traded in the Myles Garrett deal. And then they had no first-round pick in 2025. 2026, they took Ty Simpson. And I believe, Kevin, you said this in our group chat, as well as someone on Twitter said, Ty Simpson eventually traded in Joe Burrow deal. Probably. And that's the unfortunate thing for us as San Francisco 49ers fans. Another thing I wanted to highlight is you look at this 2026 Rams team, and as SportsCenter pointed out, they're absolutely loaded because Matthew Stafford led the NFL in pass TDs and passing yards. Puka Nacua led the NFL in receptions. Devontae Adams led the NFL in receiving touchdowns. And Myles Garrett led the NFL in sacks in 2025. So That's who the 49ers have to see twice a year. And so I am so looking forward to that. And the final thing that I wanted to highlight, which is truly the most bittersweet part of all of this, the fact that the 49ers now have to see Myles Garrett twice a year, and this was pointed out by CBS Sports, is how the 49ers almost landed Myles Garrett in 2017. Because if you remember, you flash back to 2016, Hugh Jackson was the head coach of the Browns. The Browns were 0-14 going into week 16, while the 49ers were 1-13. The Browns won on a miracle game-winning missed field goal, giving the 49ers the number 1 pick in the draft. Until 3 hours later, the 49ers then beat the Rams on a game-winning touchdown and 2-point conversion with 30 seconds left, led by Colin Kaepernick. The win gave the Browns back the number 1 pick in the draft. The 49ers only had 2 wins in 2016. They were both against the Rams. And then the Browns went on to use the number 1 pick on Myles Garrett, and the 49ers took Solomon Thomas, who is my guy from Stanford University. He has had a solid NFL career, but he is nowhere near the stratosphere of Myles Garrett. And so that just shows you the pain
could have had Myles Garrett
that we have as 49ers fans. And, it is what it is. Kevin, do you have anything else you want to add on to this before we get to you jumping for joy with the other? Oh, as for the audio-only listeners, Kevin is playing his tiny violin